Welcome to the Sales Dojo podcast. The podcasts are here to help you address the real issues salespeople face every single day.
So just me and you today, Chris. Susie is off gallivanting yet again. Where is she this time?
I haven't got a Scooby-Doo, to be honest. It involves an airport and being somewhere else. Don't know where she is.
Yeah, let's just go with Dusseldorf or something like that. She's often floating around Germany, isn't she?
Yeah, somewhere. Or the Maldives or Australia. I don't know. I can't keep up with it.
I feel it is literally like that. She's like, I'm in Germany. Then she's in Japan. And you're like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, Travels with Susie. That podcast is coming out soon, but we're going to do Twiz. Everyone knows how this works, Chris. We've got 4 posts. The first 2 are 2 that I found in the last couple of days. The next 2 are the 2 that you found. The first one that I found is going to be short and simple, but it's more of a, I want to think theologically. Is that a right turn of phrase? Theologically? I want to theorize about this stuff.
No, theologically would mean something to do with religion, I think.
Okay. Let's not do let's do nothing to religion. But let's talk about the post from Eldad Postan Koren.
Easy for you to say.
It is. He's the co-founder and CEO of Win.ai. We love AI in our house.
Yeah.
And his post is pretty short, pretty simple, but I just wanted to have a chat around this because it is something that gets on my tits, if I'm completely honest. So he says, you're not a partnership manager, in inverted commas. You are not a consultant, in inverted commas, and you are not a product expert, in inverted commas. You're in sales. Don't try and hide it. It's annoying.
That's the post.
That's it. That is the post. And the reason why, like, I was having a chat with someone the other day about this, and they were like, we do sales recruitment. So what you recruit for? He said BDM, BDR, BDS, SDR, SDE, AE, AM, AS. And I was like, what? And I remember when I first started and you kind of did the whole thing yourself. You set up some meetings, you sat in front of them, you looked after the client when they became a customer. You tried to make sure that they didn't leave and tried to do some stuff. And I can't remember the point at which we started discussing all of these different things. And maybe you can highlight it to me, but I do wonder, I used to think it was very much a British thing because, you know, there was a very British way to say we're not into sales and stuff like that. But it's obviously, it's American as well. Americans have SDRs and AEs and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just wondering where it came from. Do you think it is a problem in terms of people not wanting to say they work in sales?
It might be an organization's issue that they don't want to say sales rep because it has a negative connotation. It can be used to, I mean, a lot of sales processes are super complex now, and it spreads across 5 or 6 different people, and they all have to differentiate between their role a little bit. Some of it might be a bit mirror gazing. You know, I remember years ago, and you'll know the company, so we can't name names on here because we've not got bottomless pockets for lawsuits. But people who do telecan, and they were given a little business card when you joined the company, and it said sales executive on it. And I remember being out for Friday night beers, and somebody I knew had just started working for one of these businesses. And I was, what are you doing now? And he's, I'm a sales executive. and he loved it. Like, you could tell it was a real, a title that gave him a bit of self-pride and everything. So I'm not against it. Yeah, it's, you know what's annoying is when 3 companies have the same title for salespeople, but they mean different things.
Yeah.
BDM is the classic one, business development manager. And for some people, that means going to networking events, eating cake, and not actually developing the business. For other people, they're just a cold caller. Like, they're the cold face. Just a cold caller sounds terrible. I don't mean that, but they're the real cold face, doing the graph, booking meetings. And for other people, they're going out on the road, sitting those meetings that have been booked. I think maybe we just need to all agree on what these terms mean. That's when it gets really confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is part of the problem with the whole thing is, you know, you're talking to someone about cold calling and they say, you know, cold calling's dead, cold calling's not going to work. And you say, what do you mean? It's like, you know, when you phone someone up who's come through your website, I was like, well, that's not cold calling, is it? That's like calling a warm lead. And then, you know, people are talking about prospecting, and then they're saying that they send emails. It's like, well, no, that's not kind of prospecting. Maybe this is what we need to do, is we need to write the glossary of sales, and then we need to somehow get people to stick to the things that we understand.
Maybe get it written into law somehow.
It's possible you get laws passed for it. If we just get enough people to sign one of them online petitions, I think we can get it discussed in Parliament, can't we?
Is it Kia? I know you might have a bit on at the moment, like there's some oil stuff and a war and shit going on, but I think you need to tackle the real issues in the country if you're listening to this, which is sales job titles and what they mean. Enough of this tax and oil and cost of living crisis and that. Let's get to the heart of it.
Yeah, because a lot of the comments on the post were, oh, they don't want to come out as salesy. I disagree. I'm more of a consultant. And she is the regional vice president of sales at Nurture Boss.
Well,
I want to earn relationship the right way so it's long term. Nothing wrong with sales. I'm a consultative subject matter expert specializing in sales. Jesus, we go on forever here, couldn't we?
I really hope somebody's done one where the acronym for it is actually a really rude word. I love them. It's like I'm a whatever, and it's you're a cop. Excellent. That's how James May got fired from Automart magazine or something, wasn't it? Because he's had an argument with his boss, and he wrote an article, and the first letter of every paragraph that was in bold spelled out "See you next Tuesday" to his boss, and they published it. It's around that, and he got fired. I love that. But yeah, it's a great post, Eldad. We'd like to know actually if this annoys you as well, or maybe you've just got a sales role and you're not sure about your title and what it means. Maybe drop us a message. We can have a further chat.
Something you said earlier on as well is like, I remember being given the senior biz development manager title.
Senior.
And at the time, I don't think I got a bump in my money. I think I was on 18 and I stayed on 18, but got senior business development manager. And sometimes when you're younger, and when I do mentoring with people, are like, I just want to get to account exec. And I'm like, yeah, but what else do you get for that? Like, just tell people that's what your title is. It's not going to give you any more benefit. And maybe we've used this a lot to incentivize people wrongly many years ago, and that's put us in a bit of a sticky wicket with it as well.
Well, isn't it? It's like going up a grade, isn't it? When you've got seniors and vice presidents and everything else. Part of it's that ego lick. I mean, I'm a senior director at my company, but senior just means I'm getting old. That's all it means. I'm just a bit senile director of the company is what I'm moving towards.
Yeah. If you've got an interesting job title, drop us a line and we'll love to have a chat about it. Next post is from Amit Kapila. And this caught my attention because he used caps lock at the start of his post.
Does that mean he's shouting?
No, that just means it's important and I should definitely read it. It was really interesting because I don't know how, but he managed to get me to read this in a really calm manner. Like, it felt like it was a oxymoron in terms of the fact that it was very shouty at the start, but then it turned into quite a calming conversation I was having with my head in his voice. So he says, sales is important in any walk of life. I think we can agree on that. Real estate, pharma, retail, B2B, every conversation where you present an idea, influence a decision, or position your value is a sales conversation. I think we can all agree on that. But he then says, let me start by asking a few questions. When you answer yes to a question, only then read the next one. So if you don't answer yes, then you can't read the next one, I guess. Are you in sales? Yes.
Yes.
Is this your career? Yes.
Yes.
Is there room for improvement? Yes.
Yeah.
We've both passed that test then, Chris, which is good news for both of us. If you feel there's room for improvement, read on. I think sales is often misunderstood, so let me clarify what sales really is. I always find this bit interesting. At its core, sales is really about building relationships. Relationships are built on trust, and clients buy from people they trust. Sales is really that process of building trust. So in order to be good at sales, you need to be good at building trust.
Trust. To make sure, is he talking about building trust? I might have missed it.
I don't know. We'll hopefully find out a little bit further now when he mentions it. Building trust, however, doesn't just happen. It takes skill and practice, and the good news is these skills can be learned.
Oh.
The only question is, well, he said there was only one question before. Now he's saying there's another only question. Do you want to learn through trial and error, or do you want to be strategic about your career, learn the right skills first, and let experience refine them? Well, that's technically two questions, isn't it? So maybe it's not the only question. And then he says, understanding people, interpersonal acumen, structuring conversations, handling objections, negotiations, and guiding decisions. These are learned capabilities. Without required training, you will only rely on instinct. With training, you can open with clarity, intent, and control. A thought to leave you with, as if he hasn't given us enough thoughts, in a world where everyone is trying to be heard, the ones who know how to build relationships and then guide decisions will always stand out. And then he's got a lovely picture of himself with his favourite lamp. God bless him.
The lovely lamp.
But yeah, look, I shared this because I found it really interesting because there were some things that piqued my interest. And the first one was obviously the shouty question of, do you want to master sales? And I was like, yeah, but no. Because when I say no is, I always think that the day you think you've mastered anything is the day you are fucked and cooked in that business. Because, you know, we talk about on the podcast all the time. We talk about it in person. We have a chat about it when we're just catching up on the phone and stuff. And there's always something new to learn. Like effectively, the whole podcast This Week in Sales exists because there's always new stuff. There's new ways of doing things. There's new trends. So do you want to master sales? I always think, no, I don't ever want to master sales because if the moment I think I have, I'm kind of goosed. And then it got me thinking a little bit later on of like, are you in sales that your career is a room for improvement? Did I think sales was my career when I first started? I don't think I did. I genuinely actually took the job because I didn't have another job. I'm glad I did. I'm very blessed that I went into Paul Lyon's place and got interviewed that time on a Friday afternoon in a group of 30 people when he said, well, not Paul, but Neil, one of his guys basically said, have you got 2 eyes? Brilliant. Can you start on Monday?
Yeah.
And if you feel there's a room for improvement, read on. And then he says, it's often misunderstood. Sales is really about building relationships. And I was like, it isn't just about building relationships because like I can build relationships, but never get anyone to make any decisions. So like, for me, like people often say, you know, what is sales? What is sales? What should you do for sales? I always say that being good at sales is about helping people to make decisions. Like, I think that's the most important is guiding someone to a decision rather than building a relationship because I can guide someone to a decision who don't have much of a relationship because we don't gel and they may or may not buy because I've got them to decision-making part of that process.
We're not gonna, I mean, it's a great post. It's just a bit too headline for me. And I've seen this sales is about building relationships is quite the trendy thing to say at the moment because it's a bit vacuous. Like, what do you mean? Like, what does it mean? Sales is about building relationships. Well, so's like getting married and so's, you know, getting a job and lots of things are. I like it a bit. It's a bit vacuous. I do like the bit where you ask questions. Are you in sales? Yes. Is this your ear? Yes. Is there room for improvement? It's Socratic, isn't it? He's getting all these yeses out of us. And relationships are built on trust. Clients buy from people they trust. 100%. I'm so glad you didn't say they buy from people they like. That's very true. They buy from people they trust will do what they need them to do. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think sales is about building relationships. Sales to me is about helping somebody predict a future that they want and show them how you can attain it for them. So you have a conversation.
The other challenge with it as well is like if you just become obsessed with building relationships and you haven't qualified someone out early in that. So I just had a chat before with Dan Ireland, success prospect, and he was talking about like when you give someone a target of getting a meeting, guess what they do? They get meetings. The quality of the meetings, whether they're any good, whether the ones that you want, seems to fade a little bit. And, you know, we've said it loads. Thursday afternoon, if we said to everyone, as soon as we get that board for next week filled up in the office in Preston, we can all go home on Friday, sure as eggs is eggs. By 12 o'clock on Friday, we were all in the pub having a bevy because that board was full of shite, but it was full. Yeah. And this is the challenge with like, if it's just building relationships, I think it's just one of many skills, but I think influence and decisions is more important. And also, I guess one of the things it never talks about when people say this is what sales is about is like getting yourself to do this stuff well. So like getting yourself to build relationships which are beneficial to you, not just beneficial to them. Getting yourself to get a decision sooner rather than later when actually, you know, if it's a hot prospect, if it's a big opportunity, if it's a whale, you'd actually want to make sure you don't spend too much time addicted to the hopium of that thing, because then you've just wasted loads of time on something that was never going to get over the line and wasn't a good fit either.
I always get a bit of a red flag in these things when something about sales, like a piece of advice or an approach or something, and it feels like the side effect of that is you're going to feel all warm and fluffy. Yeah. And I think it's always dangerous, isn't it? I was chatting to a sales leader. I know this sounds like a made-up story because I can't say details of these people for obvious reasons. Chatting to a sales leader, senior leader over a team, and we were talking about pipeline and hard qualification and struggles that they're having in there. And I asked him, how much of your current pipeline as a whole team do you think is just bollocks? Like it's just overinflated. There's nothing there. He said 50% at least. Imagine that. 50% of what people are forecasting is going through the pipeline is just absolute hot air. Why? Because they've got a lovely relationship. Because, they definitely trust us. Well, that's lovely. But it's not qualified. They shouldn't be in there. And what you're actually doing is a disservice to your customers, because you're taking 50% of your time and attention away from the people you can really help by chasing this hopium, this hot air in there, because you've got a lovely relationship, because you've done the warm and fluffy things. And warm and fluffy is just a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, I used to struggle with a pipeline conversation because I was like, well, most of it, like, how do I know? Like, what is the measure? Like, if the only measure that I can use is how I feel about it, then I'm going to tell you that I feel like it's a good opportunity and stuff like that. But I used to often think that when I did it for the sales manager, when I had about 26, 27 years ago, I probably did my forecast for him to make him feel better about what was on, like what the opportunities were. So he could report via his up manager, line manager, mine, and a couple of other people's, and go, yeah, we've got plenty in to be doing some stuff. Like it's
the forecasting tends to be, what can I say that's closest to the truth that doesn't get me into trouble? Which is just a bloated pipeline, isn't it? What can I say that my manager won't have a heart attack about, but isn't an outright lie? It's and this is where things like building relationships, I kind of get the sentiment, but it's warm and fluffy is a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, stop being warm and fluffy and start being cold and calculated, I guess.
I mean, I don't want to make sales out to sound like that, but it's just deal with the truth. That's all.
See, and sometimes the sale.
Sometimes the truth isn't warm and fluffy, is it? The truth's pretty grim. Anyway, should we cheer everyone up a bit and do different posts?
Let's.
Okay. So I found this one. This is from Harpreet Singh. Harpreet, don't think we've ever mentioned you on This Week in Sales before. Obviously, you drew me in with your first line, like Leon got today. Cold calling is not dead. Your mindset is. I was like, well, okay, we'll give this a whirl. Let's see. So I'll go through this as quick as I can. It's quite a long post. Harpreet says, SDRs will spend 45 minutes crafting the perfect email sequence, A/B test the subject line, agonize over the send time, and then stare at the phone like it owes them money. The phone doesn't owe you anything, but it will pay you back if you stop being terrified of it. If you've not got that from AI, Harpreet, I love that line, and me and Leon are well having it.
Well, you'll probably notice from the M dashes in the rest of the post that it might just be aided by AI.
It may be. There's a lot of capital letters in here as well, but that's okay. It's a tool that's here to help us. So Harpreet goes on to say, here's what actually kills cold calling performance, and it's not your script. 1, you're carrying the last call into the next one. Someone hung up on you 30 seconds ago, you're still replaying it. The next prospect hears that, not your words, your energy. Reset every single time. Get that? Yeah, it's Tiger Woods effect, isn't it? Take 5 steps from your bad shot, forget about it, walk away. Number 2, you're trying to not get rejected instead of trying to have a conversation. They're 2 very different goals. One makes you sound robotic and desperate. The other makes you sound human. Humans book meetings, robots get hung up on. Fair one. And number 3, you think confidence is something you feel before the call. It's not. Confidence is built during the call, on the call, by doing the call. You don't wait to feel ready. You dial and become ready. Quite chest-beating motivational speech from Harpreet here. Cold calling isn't a numbers game. It's a mindset game that happens to involve numbers. Lots of stuff we're going to put on our Twitter here, Harpreet. The SDRs who connect more, book more, and close more aren't the ones with the best openers. They're the ones who refuse to let a bad call define the next one. And then there's some hashtags, which are a thing, apparently. Harpreet, some wise words in there. Paul, Leon, what do you make of these 3 mindset ideas from Harpreet?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely get behind most all of them, to be honest with you. You're carrying your last call into the next one. Yeah, so this is, that being outcome orientated, like what happened in something is affecting what happens next. The challenge is that it still happens to me. Like, I've told people not to do it. I've trained people not to do it. We are naturally human beings who, when you get told to go and dice 16 times on the spin, you might think that the advice that you're receiving is the best thing you can do instead of making another call. And that's okay. So, it's not possible to just completely stop being a human. It is something that happens. Reset every single time doesn't always work. It's just one of them things. Trying to get not rejected instead of trying to have a conversation. I'm not sure how that plays out in my head, but yeah, you are trying not to get rejected on a cold call. Like, you're doing everything in your power to get you the next 30 seconds or 2 minutes or to continue the conversation. That's an important part of it. They're not mutually exclusive, in my opinion. Trying to not get rejected by saying something inventive, interesting, funny, witty, off the cuff, different, is the same as trying to have a conversation. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive. And then, yeah, I agree with the final one completely. Like, confidence comes from doing the thing, not necessarily from needing it beforehand. You don't, we've said loads, you don't need confidence, you need a bit of bravery. Confidence will come down the line.
Well, you need a bit of courage. The second one I'm interested in, so I read this a bit differently. You try not to get rejected instead of trying to have a conversation. I hear a lot of calls where people are so desperate to not be rejected, they won't get to the point because they think that's the bit that will get them the rejection.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So it's, they've made a call call and somebody says, yeah, I'm sorry, what do you want? Are you all right? How are you today? Yeah, well, what do you want? Well, the thing, and just tell them. Like, it's that avoiding the rejection actually gets you rejected. Whereas if you can be punchy, ballsy, and to the point because you're not afraid of the rejection, your call goes an awful lot better. I'm here to have a conversation because a lot of people are going to reject you anyway, regardless of what you do. So just crack on. So I do quite like point number 2. Yeah, we're both in agreement with point number 3 about confidence. Not carrying the last call into the next one. You know what? I think some of the first sales advice I ever got was probably just let it be water off a duck's back. Bloody easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah.
One, I'm not a duck. And it's finding your own way to do this. I think the best advice I got on this was when people say, don't take it personally, that's dreadful advice because you are a human being. And as you say, 16 times you've been told to die. I'm going to take that personally at some point. And if I ever come to a point where I am that dead on the inside that I don't, you should probably leave sales because it's blackened your soul. I think the important key, and this is what I was told, was recognize when you feel that as an emotion and then accept that that's okay. Don't think you've failed because you've felt it. Accept you felt it and then accept that that's fine to have felt that. I think a lot of this advice that you see in sales is like, if you do feel the rejection, if you do feel hurt by it sometimes, you've failed at sales. No, you're being a human being. Recognize, shit, that hurts. And just accept that that's okay. Do what you need to do for 5 minutes, carry on. I think it's when you're made to feel like a failure for feeling it, that's when it gets into a bad place. So yeah, you're carrying the last call into the next one. Don't do that. People do that with everything, don't they? Relationships, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Everyone's got baggage and stuff like that. The only thing I don't like about this is cold calling isn't a numbers game. And lots of gurus will tell you that it's not and whatever, but like proper top of funnel prospecting, unfortunately, it's a numbers game. Like, you've got to You've got to rattle through lots of them. It's not a numbers game as in just try and get through as many as you can and see what happens. But it's definitely a numbers game as in the more you do, the more likely you're going to have success. Now, if you're dog shit on the phone, then that's not going to happen, obviously, don't get me wrong. But like once you get good, you need to get busy. Get that on Twitter now as well.
Yeah, hey, we got some coffee shop wall sayings coming out today, haven't we? Yeah, to me, the numbers game is you get better. You just get, but you don't get better with more and more theory. You get better by doing and doing. I had a great question. I was running a session this morning for a company, Ramin, Jasper, Thomas, all the team, if you're listening, hello. And we were doing feedback. We played a real recorded sales meeting from one of the team, and we did peer-to-peer feedback. Really bold exercise for everybody on Zoom. It was really good. And at the end, got a great question. And this guy said, can I ask you a question about feedback? It's like, yeah, of course you can. He said, how do you get good at taking feedback? He said, because I do have an ego, I do have feelings, and sometimes it does hurt. How do I get better? Because I recognize the more feedback I get, the better I'll get. How do I get better at not taking it personally, it not hurting? What a great question.
What was the answer?
Well, what would you have answered? Because I had to offer some reply.
Yeah, so I would say a couple of things. One, if feedback's going to be effective, it should fucking sting like it should recoil. And I always laugh and I always joke with not Shafali from SIA. Natasha. So Natasha, who's lovely and warm and cuddly, gave me some really good feedback once, and I wanted to punch her through the screen. And it took me a couple of days to get my head around it. But for me, like, if feedback's going to be effective, it should sting. Like, it's got to sit with you for a couple of days and make you think. Because if it's going to make you change what you do, it's got to be something that you think is perfectly right. And therefore, you're going to bounce back against it. Like, so, you know, if the feedback's just like superficial, it's not going to change a habit. So that would be my point on it, is that, you know, the best feedback I've ever had in my life is getting punched in the nose when I'm sparring. And that feedback is fucking move your head. Like, do you know what I mean? It's no better feedback than that.
Pretty immediate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you remember interviewing our mate Larry Long Jr.?
Yes, of course.
And he was talking about getting feedback and in his imitable way. And he said he'd been given some feedback and he said, oh my God, that hurt so good.
Yes.
Now, so that's a great way of looking at it. It's great advice on feedback, Leon. And I think I said something along the lines similar of, the first thing is when you do feel that pang, when you do have that, oh, I want to punch it, recognize that you're having that feeling. It's a form of emotional intelligence, isn't it? And just stop. Just take a minute, soak that feeling in, then put it on the shelf and go, right, pragmatically, what do I do with it? I've had my moment. It's hurt, but feedback is just information. Just take the information from it, recognize the feeling and put the feeling on the shelf. I've had it. I want to punch you in the face. Thank you. I'm probably going to implement that. That's a really good bit of feedback. That, along with like everything else, get more feedback. The more used to it you get, it's like building a muscle up for feedback, isn't it? And actively seek it out. It becomes easier to take. And especially when you implement the feedback and you see a difference.
Yeah.
You start to see the value.
I think it's that understanding bit as well. When you talk about emotional intelligence, it's understanding that. So like, you know, understanding that it should sting helps you to go, oh yeah, okay, that's just happened to me. So, and why that's important is some people will give you effective feedback because they want to give you feedback, and some dicks will give you feedback because they want to make you feel like a shit. So that what I'm talking about there is like good management, bad management, or, you know, competitors or whatever. And when you understand that, it lets you still get the good and right response from the person who's trying to make you feel like a dick, because that's still good feedback as well. Even if delivered poorly, understanding the process really helps.
If you want to get better at it, one advice, go and chat with some kids. They'll give you raw feedback. Like my grandson, I can be chatting to him about something. He's 8 years old. I adore him. And he'll just stop me and go, yeah, no, this is really boring, Grandad. I'm like, right, all right, okay, that deeply hurts. I adore him, so it's all right. I take it on the chin. That's fine. Kids are great with feedback.
Yeah, and I think the last one on feedback before we move on is like, give it and take it, but let people know your stance on it. So like, let people know, please give me really raw feedback. Like, if something's crap, just let me know as soon as possible, and I'm cool with it. Because then you create this 360 feedback loop with everyone that you're working with, so they can then go, listen, I need to just tell you that was crap, and you go, yeah, no, thanks very much, I appreciate it. So it's about making sure, because the more you talk about something, the easier it becomes.
100%. Circle of trust.
That's it.
Last one was for me, pal. Julie Marks. Hiya, Julie. I don't think we've talked about you before either, Julie. Julie Marks is business development manager at salesdaily.co. Sales Daily, that's not the Daniel Disney thing, is it?
I don't know. I'm just trying to work that out. So if I click on this and open a new tab.
This is making great radio for you all, isn't it? Sorry, but let's have a look.
Quite possibly. Yeah, looks like the same logo, yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right, Daniel, if you're listening too. So Julie Marks says, now this got me 6 laws that weren't written for salespeople, and we love these psychology laws, me and you, Leon. But they explain why most reps lose. Bit of a generalization, but we'll lay off. These aren't sales frameworks. They're universal laws from economists, engineers, and historians, but every single one applies to how deals are won and lost. So first one, Wilson's Law. Love a named law. Wilson's Law is, if you prioritize everything, you prioritize nothing. Busy is not productive. Chasing every lead means closing none. Ruthless focus wins. Say no to bad fits early. So this goes back, Susie, you'll love this. It's like there's a theme. This goes back to qualifying. Yeah. Prioritizing everything, you're prioritizing nothing. Get qualifying hard. Number 2, Sturgeon's Law. I would imagine nothing to do with Nicola Sturgeon. 90% of everything is crap. I'm definitely going to remember this law. I love the sound of this. Yeah. Most of your pipeline is already dead. You just don't know it yet. Qualify hard. A small real pipeline beats a large fake one. Amen, Julie, to that. Sticking with the theme. Parkinson's Law. We've discussed this on the podcast before. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Give a deal 3 months, it takes 3 months. Give it 6 weeks, it takes 6 weeks. Okay. Compressed timelines, no deadline means no deal. I would agree you can probably shorten an awful lot of your timelines. Some of them are going to be relevant to the people that you're speaking to. I would say Parkinson's Law for salespeople is you can probably get a lot more done in your day if you just time box it, if you give yourself deadlines for it. If I ever need to get the house spick and span, I invite my parents round. Oh, they'll be here in 2 hours. It's amazing how much you can get done when you've got a deadline. I will come to you for your thoughts in 1 second on these. Murphy's Law. We all know this one. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Champions leave, budgets get cut, reorganizations happen mid-deal. Anticipate failure, build safety nets, multi-thread. They go on to explain this. Goodhart's Law. I'd never heard of this one. Had you, Leo?
No, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
I like this. Calls made and emails sent mean nothing if they don't convert. Measure outcomes, not motion. And we've discussed this a lot, as I mean, KPIs on activity, not behavior, doesn't really mean anything. And then Kidlin's Law, new one to me. If you can write the problem down clearly, you're halfway to solving it. Vague problems get vague solutions and no budget. Help your customer articulate the pain. Clarity closes deals. So I've done a lot of work on this recently with how closely can you get your prospect to articulate exactly what their problem is? Because they probably don't fully understand it yet either. And you're halfway to solving it. You find budgets. So Julie goes on to say, these laws aren't new, but most reps learn them the hard way. Which one hits hardest for you? Hey, great stuff. Love that, Julie. Lots of arrows in there, sadly, meaning maybe AI'd, but still, good job. Any of those stand out that hit hard for you, Leo?
Yeah, look, Sturgeon's Law is new to me, and I'm going to be using it this afternoon, 100%. I think the closest one would be that Pareto thing, 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. that's probably something that loads of people would understand who are in sales. I agree with you. The Parkinson's law does not work on managing the other person's fucking timeline. Like you cannot do that. You can manage what your process is to get them to the situation, but you can't say if a customer has a 9-month decision-making process, we're just going to do it in 3 this time, Mr. Customer, if that's okay, because that's their fucking process. That's how they operate. You just need to get busy on making sure your process is thorough and following the steps and not missing any out. And then everyone just goes through that. Yeah, Murphy's Law or Sod's Law, as Scousers would call it. Sod's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That's pretty much a given when it comes to sales, business, life, and everything. Yeah, Kidlin's Law, I've heard that called something different, which I can't remember, but then it's like, it's that KISS thing, isn't it? Keep it simple, stupid. And, if you write something down, if you can make something a 10-year-old can understand, then you're halfway to solving it. I do like the idea of that when you're having a conversation, because I often have a chat with people who do like coaching or mentor and stuff, and they will say, I'm trying to get some sales in and, it's struggling, where you're struggling. And it always falls down because if someone approaches them, they come to them with the problem that they think needs fixing, and it's never, ever the problem that really needs addressing. Because if it was, you would just fix it.
Yeah.
Like generally is if you're coaching someone and they say, oh yeah, my problem is I haven't done that thing. So well, why just do it? So it's never that thing. It's always something else. And it's always like asking some questions. So yeah, I like them. I'm going to use a couple of them this afternoon, I think.
And 90% of everything is crap. Like
Nicola Sturgeon's Law, forever known as Nicola Sturgeon's Law.
Yeah, that's I'm just going to throw that at everybody now. Like, how was tea tonight, darling? Well, Sturgeon's Law, to be honest with you. Like, the potatoes are nice, but 90% of it is crap. Yeah.
I hope you don't say that to Jen, and I would never say it to Frankie because I would be wearing it.
Well, this is my little test to see if Jenny ever actually listens to the podcast. And then, although she could just be listening through the door right now, and I'm a dead man. So that'd be great.
Right, should we have a look at a theme? Because Susie likes us to build a theme.
She does. So, I'll WhatsApp her in a bit with what the theme was.
Our first post was around sales and being proud of it and not changing your name for anything. Then we were talking about mastering sales and talking about whether you are in sales and if it's about relationships. The next post from Harpy was about cold calling not being dead and how you can make sure you reframe this to think about the stuff that you're doing. And then the final one was around some laws. And I'm going to suggest that our theme today was sales.
An incredible theme. I love that.
Can't do anything else with it, I'm afraid. Susie might be able to listen back and give us some pointers, but I just think we went all over the show with all of them.
Great post, though. And I think we've got to remind everyone now that if you've seen something on LinkedIn that you think, salespeople really need to hear that, drop us a DM, send it a link on email to improve@thesalesdojo.com, I believe it is. If you've listened to us for ages and you think, I bet them two and Susie are 3 of the best looking people out there in the sales world, well, we are really thrilled to announce we can massively disappoint you. You can now see us on YouTube. You can go on YouTube, you can go on TikTok, and you can catch up with Twiz. You can get this short bite support and ideas if you want through there as well. What would really help us? Well, if you do like the Sales Dojo podcast, if you do like This Week in Sales, please drop us, what did they call them? Testimonials on Apple and Spotify and that? What do they call them?
Yeah, just to give us 5 stars or give us 4 stars. In fact, no, give us some feedback and tell us how we can improve it for next time you listen. Because feedback is a gift.
Feedback is the breakfast of champions, Leon. So give us some feedback, write us a review. If you think it's terrible and you really don't like it, well, snitches get stitches, don't they?
See you soon.
Cheers, pal.